Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. I am John Ledyard from pewterreport.com. With me on this wonderful Thursday to preview one of the games of the decade in the NFL regular season is the one and only Matt Matera, also of pewterreport.com. Matt, we've got a really great matchup to break down, not necessarily because both these teams are juggernauts. We'll get to that in a little bit, but the Bucs probably are, but because of the history between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the storylines that come with that, including what I believe might be an even more frostier relationship between Bruce Arians and Bill Belichick and some of the comments they've exchanged this week. So we've got a lot of ground to cover on today's show, and it's going to be breaking down two of the teams in the NFL that we believe I don't know if the Patriots are going to be one of the best. They haven't started off that great, but we'll get to it. But first, I mean, hey, let's matching color shirts.
Let's
right?
go. It's the second time we've done this unplanned, but I think we both look great. So why not keep matching?
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. This was definitely completely 100% planned. Hey, today's show is sponsored to you and brought to you by Celsius, as it always is. Celsius powers active lives every day with essential functional energy. I've got the blueberry pomegranate. You've got the peach mango green tea.
That's
Celsius,
right.
I'm telling you, man, if you're looking for an energy drink that changes the game, get yourself some Celsius. No sugar, an unbelievable taste, and tons of different flavors with Celsius. Really, really awesome stuff. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fast protein bars, the tastiest protein bars out there that you'll find anywhere. I'm telling you, I have had a lot of protein bars in my life, Matt, but nothing beats these fast protein bars. The white chocolate cookies and cream and the caramel peanut crunch. Love them both. Can't say enough good things about both of them, to be honest with you. Still have some white chocolate cookies and cream. Need to get some more caramel peanut crunch, but yeah, they're the way to go if you're looking for good protein. 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar. I mean, that's what you're looking for when you're looking for a good protein bar, and Fast definitely gives you that. So make sure you check these out. You can actually click the link. Today is the last day. It's the last day to click the link down in the YouTube description and get 20% off your order of Fast protein bars. So go ahead and click that link, get your order in, save a bunch of money, and I'm telling you, it's the best grab and go. Not going to make a meal. I don't eat lunch a lot of days. Like, just grab one and have one, because they're that good, and they're good for you too.
It's the great balance. I just want to say it's the great balance between the protein that you're getting, but the flavor as well too is the huge difference. Right. I think it separates itself from other protein bars. Just wanted to throw that in there. Please.
No,
proceed.
Completely agree with you. The taste is always what separates Celsius /Fast. So let's do today's injury report. It just dropped, and so people are probably interested in that and seeing what the news is. Okay, Giovanni Bernard did not participate. Carlton Davis, full participant again. Jamel Dean was limited again. Chris Godwin, full participant again. Rob Gronkowski also did not participate again today. Steve McClendon got his rest day. Jaden Mickens was a full participant, so he looks good to go. The return game should be back.
Yeah, he was catching punts.
Yeah, still no JPP.
Right, so more or less the same as it was yesterday. Obviously, it looks like that JPP isn't going to play. I don't think anyone really expected it to. I don't really expect Giovanni Bernard to play. Just that injury looks so bad. The fact that he hasn't practiced, and there were times too. Remember, he got hurt right before the season started, and so he missed some practices. But I remember too, just being out there at practice, and a lot of the time where it's open to the media for that portion, it's mostly just special teams things. But Giovanni Bernard would always be out there watching the scenes, seeing what's going on. We haven't even seen him outside at all. It's one thing when you have a guy that's injured and he's at least out there with the rest of the teammates. That hasn't been the case with Giovanni Bernard. So if I had to bet on it, I'd say we don't see Bernard in there at all, which means Keyshawn Vaughn gets we'll see. But he did get to play last week, but maybe he'll get some snaps at running back. Probably not. Probably just rely on Leonard Fournette and Rojo. Gronk's the big one, though. I mean, as much as this has been highly publicized as Brady against Belichick, there is the Rob Gronkowski factor. He was obviously there for a long time and built his Hall of Fame career with the Patriots and winning Super Bowls. I'm curious if this was any other team in the NFL, if Gronk would maybe not play this week, heal those ribs. But because it's New England, he has to play in this game. It's everything's on the line here.
Yeah, I mean, it would be shocking to me if he doesn't play. I figured they would rest him both these next 2 days. If he doesn't practice at all tomorrow, maybe we're looking at a situation where he doesn't. But yeah, how much time does he really need to be able to practice? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he's feeling. Did Arians say anything? Or sorry, did anybody say anything? I know Arians didn't talk today, but nobody probably asked about injuries with Byron Leftwich up there, huh? They knew he wouldn't. He's not going to give away anything.
He doesn't really give away much. So.
We'll find out more tomorrow from Bruce Arians about Giovanni Bernard and Jason Pierre-Paul and those guys for sure. But it's so funny to me that people have spent all this week talking about this, trying to still conjure up this drama and controversy between Tom Brady and the Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. That just isn't there. It's just not there, folks.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Brady got asked about it too. He really didn't take the bait at all when it came to
I really don't think there's bait to take. I think
I don't know. Just you kind of want to stick it to them a little bit. I think you probably did just by winning a Super Bowl with the Bucs.
Yeah, but it's like the same way you'd want to beat your brother in a game. You know what I mean? Like more than just a random person. Or it's just it's that. It's not like any type of animosity between.
I don't know. Some people.
You think?
Some people are big spite people. You really want to get one over on.
But it sounds like Brady believe more than Belichick. I mean, like more than he was pushed out. I think. I don't know. There's lots of conflicting stories out there. But I was going to say the funny part is Gronkowski's actually the one that retired rather than keep playing for the Patriots, and openly said that it lost its joy for him. It lost its fun for him. And he's been himself more in Tampa Bay. I was just looking at an interview from him last year where he said, both environments were great for him, but he just loves being able to be himself and to be more in a more relaxed environment in Tampa Bay. And he'll be around coaches who let him be himself. I mean, he was point blank, and nobody even talks about that. To me, that's where the actual friction may exist here. Not that Gronk would ever harbor any resentment toward anyone, but he's been the one that's like, hey, I actually think I might like the way Tampa Bay does things more than I enjoyed in New England.
I don't think Gronk isn't the first player to really be like, hey, playing for Bill Belichick is kind of tough. You win a lot, so obviously everyone enjoys that. But it's essentially Belichick. It's his way or the highway. He's going to do things a certain way, the Patriot way, as it's been come to know. And there's only a handful of guys that have spent a long time in their careers there. And I don't think, obviously, Gronk was cut out to play for a guy like Bill Belichick, but not everyone really enjoys that. So if Gronk wanted to retire, and he obviously did need to take a year off with all the injuries that he sustained, but good for him. He wants to go somewhere else. He wants to enjoy life. He loves Florida. Bucs fans love him. So it all worked out. He's not the first person that doesn't love playing for Belichick.
Right. And he obviously did love it for a while, I'm sure. But I think, it wore on him. And here, I'm going to throw some personality test stuff out there. I think Gronk is like an Enneagram 7. I don't know if you've ever taken the Enneagram, Matt, or if you're familiar with it at all. So people in the chat, hopefully familiar with the Enneagram, but I think he's a 7. Like, I think he just loves life and he loves positivity and he loves being around those things, vibrancy and energy and new experiences.
Bruce Arians is perfect for that.
Yeah, I think it's just a perfect fit for him. So I think he is able to probably be himself more in Tampa Bay, even if being in New England probably was good for him at the beginning of his career. Certainly where he was at personally coming out of college probably worked out perfectly for him. So John Ward says Mike Evans still hasn't drawn a DPI. Would you bet his first one comes this week? I was looking at this, Matt, before the show. Did you know the Bucs have, I think it's near the bottom of the league, I want to say they're like second least amount of first downs gained via penalty this season. So they have not benefited from hardly any penalties on offense, in other words. Like near the bottom of the league.
Tom Brady gets all the calls.
He gets all the pass interference. That's how they won the Super Bowl.
That is a bit surprising, though, because the Bucs have benefited from that in the past just because they're so talented on offense with Evans and Godwin and now Antonio Brown. I think maybe it's just the flip side of it. They've been committing so many penalties that you almost forget to call it their way when they just keep doing all these things that have not made Bruce Arians too happy.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to throw too many flags in one game. By the way, the Bucs are actually second in the league in penalties now. I've been saying they're first. I forgot to check again after the Monday Night Football game, and it was Monday night. Yeah, Cowboys Eagles, right?
Yes.
Is that Monday night? Yeah. And the Eagles just jumped way up ahead of everybody.
Congratulations to them.
So yes, congrats to the Bucs as well for not being
Yes.
dead last in that area. They are dead last in some other areas. We'll get to that in a second, but penalties is not one of them. They're second worst in penalties right now. But and answer your question, John. Yeah, I bet a first one comes this week for somebody, right? For somebody, I think. Evans should have had one last week. I mean, absolutely should have had one, in my opinion. Thought it was clear. Thought watching the tape of it, it was even more clear to me as I rewatched it. So, I think one's coming for him probably. And in general, the Bucs have benefited from very few penalties this year, and that tends to come back around. And they've been crushed. They've been not benefited. They've been hurt by penalties probably as much as any team in the league. And so I think that does tend to come back to the middle usually a little bit. Did last year for them anyway. So we'll see. Comments between Arians and let me get to this one real quick first. Blaine, is Kyle Trask the backup or third string? Kyle Trask is the third string quarterback. Yes. Blaine Gabbert is the backup. Comments between Arians and Belichick. I know Belichick claims credit for the Bucs offense. So this will move us nicely probably into our topics for today in terms of talking about the Bucs offense at least. And let's start there and then we'll move to the Bucs defensively in this one. Offensively, the Bucs, whatever they have kind of permitted themselves to do this season, they have pretty much done. I mean, there's been a couple possessions where I felt like the defense really played them well, but for the most part, especially considering they can't really or don't really run the ball hardly at all, it's been pretty remarkable how seamlessly the passing attack has worked this season. There's been zone coverage. There's been man coverage week 1. There was more zone in week 2 against Atlanta. Rams run a ton of zone, so more zone than man so far this season, but Cowboys plenty of man coverage, and it didn't seem to matter. So, I don't know that I would offer many complaints about the Bucs passing attack, but in reference to this question, just in and of itself, Belichick did kind of make some comments that everything Brady does now is what he ran in New England as the offense evolved in New England. Arians came back when he was asked about it and said, and immediately people were like, oh, Belichick's taking a little shot there at Arians. Well, that's not the first time that would have happened, by the way. Like back in January before the Super Bowl, it was maybe before the second round of the playoffs. I don't remember. But Arians was asked about it, and he said, yeah, New England, they didn't let him coach. I let Tom coach. I let him do his thing. Sometimes I just sit back and watch. And that was kind of a story that went around a little bit. And, I think Belichick obviously didn't know, at that point he wasn't playing. And so he didn't have any, response to it per se. But I think he
didn't go to social media he didn't go to social media.
He went to Snapface and saw it. And no, I think he knew though, like that it happened. I'm sure he was told. And it's not the first time last year that Arians made a comment about how maybe Brady was in a better spot now than where he won 6 Super Bowls, which is just kind of a dig. Arians definitely likes to rib a little. And so
he lets it fly. He lets it fly,
does,
and sometimes people get ricochet shots from it.
That's right. And so Belichick kind of made the statement that what they run is 100%. It's Brady's imprint all over it or whatever. And then Arians was asked about it later in the day, and Arians kind of came back and was like, asked him, he's like, yeah, there's probably a lot of similarities because they picked up our offense, every week. He was like, ask them what game tape they were watching each week. They were always picking up our game tape. And I don't know exactly how he knows that. He's not talking about the Bucs, by the way. I've seen some people get that confused. Arians will sometimes say things expecting everybody to know what he means when he uses pronouns and things, but we don't always know. But I believe he's talking about like at the beginning of like he was an offensive coordinator in Cleveland and then went on to be an offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh at the same time that Brady and Belichick were kind of starting their dynasty. Those time periods like overlapped, and Arians' offense at the time was thought to be, it was one of the more aggressive in the league. And in 2007, he became the offensive coordinator of the Steelers. And that was where they started to stretch the field more. And it started to be more like Coryell principles, Air Coryell, air it out, vertical attack principles. And the Patriots, who had been an Erhard Perkins system and still are, to a degree, they started adding some of the vertical elements to their offense when Randy Moss was there and Brady threw, the 55 or 50 touchdowns, whatever it was, in New England with that season with Randy Moss. That was 2007. So there was a lot of like, oh, we're pulling some concepts from here, and this is becoming staple parts of our offense. And I'm sure Arians is borrowed from him. So bottom line is we have an article about it on pewterreport.com. You can read it for yourself. But a little bit of this goes on with everybody, a little bit of stealing concepts. Everybody does it. It's good coaching to do it. You better have your eyes open to what the league's doing and taking some principles. But no question Belichick is wrong about saying that it's a 100% the offense he ran in New England. You could point to several principles just off the top of my head that are Arians staples. But that's not necessarily surprising. The biggest misconception to me, Matt, is that this offense like completely changed after the bye week or completely changed when Brady arrived in Tampa Bay. And it's just not even remotely true. Like every offense grows and evolves and starts to de-emphasize some things and emphasize other things when teams are working, if things are working against them or aren't working against other teams. But there was no, like the Bucs are still like Arians' offense at its core. They've changed a little bit of the way about how they go about things, not for Brady, I think just because that's the way the league is going with more play action, more motion. I think those things just help everybody. But the idea that the offense had to like fundamentally change for Brady to finally get good, and yet statistically everything's the same. They still throw like the more vertical balls than anybody. They still, all this stuff's still there. It's just really funny to me that people see it that way.
Yeah, that's what Arians always spoke about too. When Brady first got to Tampa, he was essentially saying it's so much easier to teach one guy our offense versus teach the rest of the offense, what Tom Brady has been used to. I'm glad you clarified that it went all the way back for, Belichick being with the Browns and everything, everywhere that Arians went. Because when Arians first made his comments and was saying, yeah, they copied us, for a little bit I was like, wait, what? Like, how could you copy an offense with Tom Brady when you had Tom Brady first for 20 years and now Tom Brady's on this team?
He's just talking about his system. Yeah. They ran very
what tape? He didn't have any tape of Brady on the Bucs when he was playing.
Right. 9-8-9, for example, go principle concept. Right. Arians' offense is like a staple of it. They scored against Dallas and the touchdown to Antonio Brown on that play. It's like a go on the outside and a post in the middle or by the slot. And, that's a staple of his that New England has run a little bit more of probably since those times he's referring to, but it's all about emphasis. Like everybody runs everything, but it's, for the Bucs,
and the Bucs are always going to go down the field. And it's just things started clicking more after that bye week. It's what everyone says. It's a copycat league. Every team takes a little something once one play or one coordinator becomes an innovator. I mean, the freaking Wildcat is still has a place in the NFL.
Atlanta tried to run it the other day.
Yeah,
week 2.
The Wildcat is hot in the NFC South. I mean, you look at Taysom Hill, obviously, and everything that the Saints run. In 2021, the Wildcat still has a place, and that was what it feels like a decade ago when Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams and everyone was running that. So everyone's taking a little bit of something from someone. It's not verbatim. Right. Because if you did that too, when you played that team, you'd be figured out in a second.
That was the other thing. Belichick saying that the way they call their protections and their flare control, which is just kind of where you control the underneath coverage so they don't get too deep, control them with underneath routes. That was unusual to me. I mean, he must mean conceptually because terminology-wise, that was the biggest struggle, right? Terminology-wise, Tampa Bay was completely different from New England. So everything Brady knew to do, he just communicating it to everybody else it was like learning another language. It was like, he understood in his mind, but now he knows that language. And by the way, Brady went from last year being one of the bottom ranked quarterbacks against pressure. And now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year against pressure. Pro Football Focus grade, adjusted accuracy percentage, all of it. He's touchdowns thrown, no turnover worthy plays at all this season, let alone against pressure. So, that just shows for Brady, all it is with dealing with pressure is just about his mind. You can blitz him all you want. He's going to beat you because his mind. And that's what he's showing this season. Now that he actually can communicate what he's supposed to do against pressure, he's just destroying teams when they try to blitz him. I want to go back to Bucs offense, but I don't want to miss the super chat because I appreciate William Butler's $5 contribution here. He says, Devin White, we know, has been underwhelming. Why doesn't Todd try to have him coming off the edge like Dallas has Parsons?
Parsons,
right. Well, he does have him come off the edge and blitzes and up the A gaps, and he uses them a lot in that way, to be honest. Devin White's not as big as Micah Parsons. He's not as good as taking on blocks as Micah Parsons, so it's probably never going to be a full-time role for him. Situationally, though, I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see them get way more aggressive on third and longs and put Devin White outside and JPP inside and Vita Vea inside.
They put Levante David on the outside for for a play or two, so it's certainly possible. I don't know if he's asking too. If he's blitzing off the edge, that's fine. I mean, that's that's what Todd Bowles does. He comes up with creative stuff and puts Vita Vea in coverage and stuff like that. But Dallas committed to just putting Parsons out on the edge, but they had different injury issues.
When DeMarcus Lawrence broke his foot, and then I think something happened with Randy
the
Gregory
Bucs obviously couldn't do that because then you're
They
taking away.
three,
you're taking Joe Tryon-Shoyinka off the field. You'd have to put Kevin Minter at linebacker. There's not really a need for it in that situation. It's more for Devin White. He just needs to get home on these blitzes because he's getting the opportunities. He's just not. He's just not executing.
Well, two things I'll say there too. I'd like to see Devin White blitz off the line of scrimmage more often because I think it would allow you to bring another defensive back onto the field in coverage, I think. And I would just play with 3 defensive linemen basically and Devin White so that he would be the 4th guy. And then you could rotate, Vita, JPP, Shaq Barrett, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, 3rd and long situations.
Yeah.
You could get those guys on the field together, and you could work things that way. Now, the tricky part is they're never in 3rd and long because teams are winning 1st and 2nd down against them so often. So you got to win the early downs more often to be able to do that. So that's one thing I'd say. The other thing with Devin White is that, it's where is he going to learn any pass rush moves, or is he just going to try to run everybody over? Like, you know what I mean? Like last year, he could just run through as fast as he could, and a lot of it was unblocked, and he could blow up a running back that wasn't seeing it because he's so physical. But what about a move? Like, do you teach him to use his hands at all?
Right,
like,
use a little swim.
Right. Like, he's just so, it's such a bull in a china shop mentality with him. And I'm like, man, I've seen him run through the hole and get stoned by backs this year. Happened in week 1 a bunch. Happened last week. Sony Michel
last
just
week,
absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah, gripped him up twice coming through. I'm just like, it doesn't feel like he has any moves once the guy like can meet him and sees him and can meet him and it's body on body kind of there. He has no idea how to get off a block. And it's just, the development, man. Like this was supposed to be the year for him that he just looked like he was putting it all together at the end of last year. And this is a big game for him, man. He's got to get on the right track. I've been pretty vocal about that this week. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about these offenses, the Bucs offense here. Statistically, I've got my statistical kind of rundown of things like I do every week when we do this. But first, I definitely want to let people know about Spotify Green Room and the opportunities they have to get involved with more conversations about the Bucs, about the NFL, about the league as a whole, about music, about culture, about other sports. It's an awesome time over at Spotify Green Room. You can download in the App Store. You can get it on Google Play. Follow Pewter Report. You'll get the invitations when Pewter Report goes live, and you can join in the conversations. You can take the mic, and you can give your thoughts on how things are going as well on whatever the topic is. So make sure you download on the App Store, Spotify Green Room, or get it on Google Play as well. All right. So offensively, here's the deal. This is a battle of a very good offense statistically that could be blowing away the rest of the league for the most part if they had done a couple little things better in a few games. And then an offense in New England that just really – it doesn't have an identity right now, Matt.
Nope.
Like Mac Jones he's kind of building something a little bit. Maybe he's not taking a lot of risks with the ball. He's not turning the ball over. Maybe it's at least of his fault. He only has 4 turnover worthy throws this season. So compared to the other rookie quarterbacks, he's doing great in that regard, but it's very conservative. It's kind of safe. It's not totally dissimilar than what they did with Cam Newton last year. It's just not a very threatening offense. There's no explosiveness, big plays. It feels like that's really missing from New England's offense right now.
Their biggest play last week was a slant to Kendrick Bourne that it was the right coverage where he obviously beat his man off the line of scrimmage, and the safety was so far back that he already got 15, 20 yards up the field. Mac Jones threw about 3 deep balls in last week's game against the Saints. 2 weren't even close. 1 probably should have been caught by Nelson Aguilar. So Jones, when I watch him, he's not bad. He's just very bland. There's really not too much to it. I will give him credit. The Saints, I felt, brought a lot of pressure on Mac Jones, whether it was just with their rush or when they blitzed a lot too. They got in his face, especially up the middle, not even on the edge, just straight up the middle. I thought he did an okay job of staying within the pocket and still getting throws off. But again, when you have that pressure in your face, there were a lot of inaccurate balls. And I know he had 3 interceptions, but 1 went right off the hands of Jonnu Smith. His first one, he got hit. And the last one came in garbage time. There's 15 seconds left. They're down 2 touchdowns. So he's not, 3 turnovers aside, he's not turning the ball, 3 interceptions aside. He's not really turning the ball over a ton. But yeah, I mean, his biggest play other than that slant was 10, 15 yard pass that was caught for a first down. He throws the type of pass, and I don't really have anything to quantify this. It just seems like it's kind of an interceptable ball. Like when it's in the
It's
air,
like a little floaty.
Yeah, it's a little floaty out there. I think it's a great opportunity for as we all talked about, a highly struggling secondary and just defense overall. This is a great opportunity for the Bucs to get some interceptions, create some turnovers, because the ball will be out there for the secondary to get their hands on.
I'm totally torn about how the Bucs should defend this week, like in coverage. I have all kinds of feelings about it. First I was like, I'm sure they will be zone heavy. They're acclimating some new people. It's a little bit easier, probably on, whether Sherman plays or not. But on one, and you want a full rookie quarterbacks and run zone blitzes and things like that. But I still feel like on one hand, like this is just, if you could just match up man to man. I mean, we've got Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, and Jacoby Myers out here for New England. And that's a fine trio. They're okay, but none of those guys should be whooping.
Definitely.
They just shouldn't be.
Definitely the worst receiver group that the secondary is facing against in the season.
Right. And they faced, some really good ones to start the year. But no question. I mean, this is, so you should be able to man up, take some things away, and make Mac Jones hold the ball a little bit. Not that he doesn't know where to go with the ball, I think, in those situations. That makes it a little bit easier usually for a quarterback. But I just feel like when he holds the ball, like it just usually results in bad things for him. And so he's not a creator, like some of these other quarterbacks. If they hold the ball, it could get ugly for you because you can't cover that long. Lamar and Patrick Mahomes and quarterbacks like that. Mac is not really a creator in that way, So I think the Bucs could have success if they went man. And I don't know that they'd struggle a ton against these receivers, but also I know they want to get some pressure and force some mistakes, and they feel like they can do a better job of that in zone. That's kind of the whole way that Todd Bowles' defense is built. So a mix, maybe we see a mix. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, though, yeah, you're right. I mean, you said how little they go down the field and how little explosive plays they have. 4.8 yards per play right now, 27th in the NFL in yards per play. And then where's 20-plus yard passes in the air for Mac Jones. He's actually thrown 16 of them. That's tied for the sixth most attempts in the league of any quarterback. I think I forget where the minimum number.
Yeah, they're averaging like 40 passing attempts per game. I thought that was, and it's like seventh in the league. I thought that was very high for a team with a rookie quarterback that predominantly their whole system for years has been running the ball first and then passing. And so you would think they would almost do that double time with Mac Jones at quarterback, but no, they're like seventh in passing attempts with 40, and they're like, I wrote it down. They're like halfway with rushing attempts as well too. Very surprising.
And they were leading against the Jets the whole way, and they beat the Dolphins a 1-point game, and so it wasn't like, it's not what I'm saying. It's not like they've been blown out every week. Like the Saints game was even like pretty close until the very end there. So I mean. Yeah, I think that's part of it. And then the other thing is, I said he's attempted 16, so he's actually throwing the ball down the field a decent amount, 20-plus air yard passes, but he's only completed 4, and there's no drops in there. So, this is even adjusted completion percentage is not looking too great for Mac Jones in terms of being able to hit things down the field. I think the Bucs would really, if you're trying to make this guy uncomfortable, I would just that's where I would maybe go with some man coverage, press these guys off the line of scrimmage. Make Mac Jones make tough throws because it's just not something he's done a ton of this season. I think that could be a really good strategy here if you're Tampa Bay. Not the whole game, but I wouldn't mind seeing it some of the game. Do I think it's going to happen? I do not, but we'll see.
I really wanted to, because I could just see a situation where they play too much zone. The pressure doesn't get home again. Mac Jones gets into a rhythm and looks more confident than he's been all season long, and he moves the team down the field. I bet, too, the way that the Rams just killed the Bucs with certain screen plays. I mean, they went to Higbee what seemed like 1,000 times on simple screenplays. The Bucs got to be ready for that, too. Obviously, Bill Belichick's MO is finding, and I'm not saying the Bucs' like top weakness is like defending the screen, but Belichick finds a thing that works against the opponent and just keeps running it until you stop it. I mean, the Rams were very successful with it last week. I wouldn't be surprised with the rookie quarterback, with the guy that's not really getting these splash plays, as we were just talking about. They're going to rely a lot on the screen game, in my opinion, just to keep the Bucs defense off guard again for another week.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that they could, and there will be some tricks involved. There almost always is with McDaniels. He'll have a few gadgety
Yeah.
things that he likes to pull out. You mentioned the run game. Yeah, that's what I expected to really be a lot better. I mean, New England has a very good offensive line. That's why I don't think this game's going to be a cakewalk at all. I feel like controlling the line of scrimmage is something they can do on both sides. It's why I don't think they really will get blown out. Even if their passing game doesn't improve this year, I don't think they're going to get blown out of a lot of games. They're just too much competence in both lines, I think, for that to happen. But yeah, I mean, they've only given up 6 sacks this season. They've not given up a ton of pressure either. When they do, Jones is usually kind of inviting it with what he's doing in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Not even utilizing play action hardly more than the Bucs. 22%, 25th in the NFL. Bucs are even lower than that, but the last week's game probably throws that off when you're looking at a small sample size because they were trailing pretty early. But so this has not been an offense that's even helping their O-line out a whole lot, other than the fact that they throw the ball fairly quickly. And so, yeah, I think that's definitely something that Tampa Bay is going to have to defensively. They're going to have plans to get pressure that they haven't had so far, because the Patriots will be prepared, no questions there, in terms of pressure that they'll see. But you have to be able to affect Mac Jones in this pocket. Like, you have to be able to get sacks in this game. Like, I just think it's so important that they get that part of their defense on track. That is how Todd Bowles' defense works. It cannot be a good defense if it doesn't get pressure on quarterbacks and if it doesn't get sacks. It's just not going to happen. The way he plays, everything is predicated on that. When things went downhill with the Jets before, when Bowles was there, this, right? This is when they stopped being able to get pressure. For early on, it was, you had how many guys? I know no edge guys, but you had linebackers who could blitz, and then you had Wilkerson and Richardson, and then they drafted Leonard Williams.
Sons of Anarchy, they were all called.
Yeah,
like for Leonard Williams. Yeah.
A lot of good dudes, right? Into the inside, and their games worked because of those guys were flexible, could move around, and now if you don't get that, his defense fails. And that's, I think, it's the most important part of the game for Tampa Bay. And I think they're going to come out extremely aggressive. I think they're going to try to scare the living daylights out of Mac Jones. I really do. And we'll see if it works. Then they'll, I think, going to have a really successful game defensively, at least. If it doesn't, then I don't know how much New England scores still. Because right now, New England, if there's an area that they're struggling in, it's the red zone.
Yeah.
They're last in the league. Dead last. So 2 for 8 this year. I know it's a small sample size, and red zone does tend to be a pretty fluid stat. So don't necessarily stake all your money on that one, but it's not good so far for them in that area, I think.
No, it has not. You would think it would almost be more successful too with them running a 2 tight end system with Smith and Hunter Henry over there. That really hasn't come to fruition too much yet. I think if the Bucs, if they have another 1 sack game, I don't want to hit the panic button, but it would be a major problem on this team. It's just the talent they have, with the exotic blitz schemes that they come up with the amount that they're blitzing with 45% per game, there is no reason they shouldn't be able to get to Mac Jones. If you watch what the Saints did last week, I thought they really did a good job of just really disrupting things. And maybe you could say the Saints are just, they're not better than the Bucs, but they're executing. Their defensive line is obviously last week has done a lot better. Vita Vea has been great, but can he finish? Like, where has Shaq Barrett gone? I never would have thought that the pass rush would really be an issue, but it's crazy that last year at this time they had double-digit sacks, and this year they have one in every single game, with the one last week essentially being end of the game, wasn't over, but not the right type of situation.
They're last in the league in sacks after 3 games. I know 3 games isn't huge, but that's
the amount of that team's throwing on them. And I understand some of these throws are orchestrated run plays, essentially. It's a major problem, man. It's almost crazy to believe, because there's only so much you can do. It's not for a lack of effort from Todd Bowles, as we just said, blitzing all the time. It just comes down to these guys winning their matchups, and they haven't. But if they can't, there's, unless they want to get Simeon Rice, everyone was talking about that because he looks in great shape. There's not the equivalent to a Richard Sherman coming to this team and helping the pass rush. This is what they got. This is what they have to go with. And there's there's nothing else you could do. There's no other avenues that they can get to beside. I mean, I don't think there's, unless they want to trade for Chandler Jones, but financially that really wouldn't work or anything like that. So
this is it.
It's on them. It's on the players.
Yeah.
It's one of those things you got to take a look in the mirror and figure it out yourself. And I still do believe that they can. Shaq Barrett's way too talented. I'm really excited about Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. I thought he had a great first half last week. You got to put the pedal to the metal, But I think we'll see your turnaround in this game.
Yeah, they need to, and this is a tough matchup. The next three, I'm like, look at my chops if I'm the Bucs.
Right.
Like, it's like, okay, like look at these next couple. I mean, you've literally got right now 3 lines that are in disarray. The Dolphins line is horrendous. The Eagles line is good, but in a little bit of disarray because of injuries now. And then the Bears, is maybe the worst line in the league right
Myles
now.
Garrett.
Right. So you've 3, the sack numbers will go up over those 3 weeks for sure. You couple that with quarterbacks that hold the ball in all 3 situations right now. And you've got sack numbers that are definitely going to go up. There's no question there. But again, this is the measuring stick, right? Can you do it against a team that has a good offensive line, that has some good pieces? By the way, I know yesterday I said the Patriots had a couple guys on the injury report, offensive line wise. Those guys limited participants again. Trent Brown with a calf, their right tackle, and then Isaiah Wynn, their left tackle. And so both those guys remain limited today. No changes on the Patriots injury report other than Kyle Duggar, the safety, was added with a limited participant with a hamstring. So there are maybe some small injuries. I think guys will play for New England. But yeah, I think that'll be the key. Can Shaq Barrett and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka too get home against some of the guys that they've seen? I know Scott Reynolds is pounding the table all the time for Shaq Barrett to switch sides and go to the right side. I will say this, if whoever does that, Isaiah Wynn's a really good player. He's a better player than Trent Brown, in my opinion, right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how those matchups go. And I think Trent Brown could be a little more beatable on the other side for New England. So we'll see how those matchups go. But I will say this too: Tampa Bay 144 pass attempts against them in this season. That's 12 more than the next closest team. Not only that, New England, for example, is the second least passed against team in the league. Only 81 pass attempts against New England this season to 144 for Tampa Bay. It's like basically defense. Both these defenses have basically played a different sport to this point. Patriots have been run on as much as any defense, almost as much as any defense in the league this season. I think 6th most rush attempts against. The Bucs, hardly anybody's running against them, 4th least, and everybody's throwing against them. So far, totally different strategies deployed by those teams. A lot of this has to do with the fact that the Patriots have faced 3, I'm going to disrespect Zach Wilson, below average quarterbacks right now in Zach Wilson, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jameis Winston. So if that continues, there probably will be one of the least passed against teams, because teams are clearly coming out with a strategy of, we're not going to put a lot on our quarterback. We're going to try to run the football. But it has more to do, I think, with their own team than New England necessarily. I don't think it's like, we're afraid to pass against New England. I don't think they face anybody who has a dude at quarterback yet. But Bill Belichick pass defense with plenty of veterans in here, J.C. Jackson, Jonathan Jones, Devin McCourty. These guys know how to play. I still feel like it's going to be a huge challenge. I know everybody will point to that. They haven't played anybody. I still think it's going to be a huge challenge for the Bucs offense.
I hear you, especially at the quarterback, but I think you could look at receivers as well too and say that the Patriots haven't really played against high intense caliber receivers like the Bucs do. Like, sure, Jets have Davis, but they just double teamed him the whole time. That takes him out of the game. The Jets don't have anything else. I know Miami got
Denzel Mims. Sorry.
What? But they don't want to play him.
Where's Denzel Mims?
They don't want to play him.
Is it a lot more healthy or what?
He's questionable right now. We'll see.
All right.
We're not talking about the Jets.
Anyway, that's right. That's my.
But, I mean, just the overall, the caliber of receivers.
Don't have anybody. Right.
Yeah, no one cares. They're all going to comment. Who cares?
Yeah.
But right, what I was trying to say is just, sure, it's one thing the quarterback play, and I mean, Tom Brady against his old team coming off a loss. That's a whole other animal that the Patriots have to deal with. By the way, Tom Brady 4-1 after a loss with the Bucs last season, so a pretty good stat, I would say. It's crazy though, because his numbers kind of fluctuate. You would think, oh, Tom Brady after a loss, he's going to be pissed off and go crazy. Not necessarily the case. There have been some blowout games, but for example, last year they lost week 1. They come back, they beat the Panthers at home, 217 passing yards, 1 touchdown. The Packers blowout game, that was after they lost to the Bears, 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now that game was obviously it was a blowout. Brady didn't need to throw that much. His 2 best games were at Carolina. That was the infamous Ronald Jones 99-yard touchdown. That game, though, he had 341 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then playing against Kansas City, they had lost the week before. He threw for 345 yards and 3 touchdowns. But after that, 196 and 2 touchdowns. So kind of like fluctuated a lot. You would think Brady, revenge, all this stuff dialed in. Obviously, the game dictates itself.
The Minnesota.
But playing against the Patriots, I think it's
right.
Just all out, just battle the whole time.
Well, here's the thing, Matt. If you want to place a bet maybe on Tom Brady's stat line, you can do it over on the Pick'em games at Underdog Fantasy. On Underdog, you can select over or under on player stat lines. You can pick 2 correct. You control your money. You pick 5 correct, and you win 20 times the amount of money you enter with. It's simple. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download their app. Sign up with the code PEWTER, PEWTER. Sign up with that code PEWTER, and they're going to give you free $10 to play with. You can make your first deposit, use the $10 that they give you. You can enter. You can do a bunch of different things with it. You can do those pick'ems if you'd like to play with it. The other thing you can do right now is you can get involved in their Best Ball Resurrection League right there on the main page, Underdog Fantasy. You can do. It's a mid-season NFL Best Ball tournament that's live on the site. $100K in prizes and $20K goes to first place. $20,000. You can have a chance to win for free. It makes sense to do it, man. Use that promo code Peter. You enter, you have to deposit, but you just use the $10 to put an entry in. You can put more than one entry in, by the way, if you want more chances to win $20K. But the scoring, it's going to start in week 6. The tournament schedule matches Best Ball Mania, and it's going to close, by the way, on the 14th of October. So go ahead and get in there. Be one of those entrants. Get yourself a chance to win $20,000. Use that promo code Pewter, PEWTER, to enter Underdog Fantasy. Always have lots of fun stuff going on. There's so many games, by the way, over there. Go check them out and just really enjoy yourself at Underdog Fantasy. Big Earn says, there's our first sample size sighting. Yes, I did say sample size, Big Earn. Thank you for the $2 super chat. Will you give $2 super chats every time I say sample size? Because I might say it a lot.
Yeah, right. That's the case. Like 50 times.
That's right.
Make a profit there.
Yeah. So a bunch of people are saying Joe Tryon Shoyinka in the chat. Yes, he is going to be a major part of what I believe this game plan and game plans moving forward too, because again, pass rush juice is what this team is looking at. He can provide it, and I think he's going to be a huge part of the solution when they get this thing sorted. I bet over the next couple of weeks, over the next month, you're going to see Joe Tryon Shoyinka jump into the defensive rookie of the year conversation. I know there's not necessarily a lot of names right now to contend with like last year, but he's in there. He's going to be in there for sure. Okay, let's talk more about a little bit about the Bucs offensively in this one. You mentioned some good things. I'll just run through some stats really quick. 34.3 points per game for the Bucs right now, tied for first. Some of those, they did score twice on defense. So, I mean, they're still probably really far up.
I always got to clarify that because I remember I was writing something about that. And it was like, oh, they lead the league with 49. But it's like, 49 and a half. Yeah. But, oh, wait, no.
How are we in 2021 and we're still counting defensive scores when we look at offensive statistics? Like,
I don't know.
We can't just weed those out. Like,
I had to do the math myself because of taking out I don't know. That doesn't
none
really
of these
make
sites
sense.
Do that. It's just weird. In fantasy football, it's weird too. Defense scores against you twice, and if you had the Falcons defense, it crushed you in that. Week
what's the worst though is if you're playing against someone's defense and you have a defense and the quarterback of that team throws a pick. If it's a pick six, it's like nothing against your defense, but he gets, he returns it to the 1 yard line. The other team rushes it in on the next play. And your defense loses points. It's It's so frustrating. But
Right,
anyway,
yeah.
I digress.
Yeah, there's lots of layers to it for sure. But anyway, the Bucs offensively, yeah, they've been great. I mean, passing second in the league in terms of passing yards per game, eighth in overall yards per game, despite the fact that they are 31st in rushing yards per game. They are like bad in efficiency in terms of rushing, but not like the worst in the league or anything. They just literally just don't try to run that much. And frankly, I applaud the lack of effort there. 16th in third down percentage, though. This is the one that gets me because they have 4 drops, straight up drops on third down this year. And because we're dealing with such small, again, I'm going to say it, sample sizes, if these passes had just been caught on those downs, the Bucs are like one of the best teams in the league on third down. So just those 4 drops alone are killing them right there. Now you could also have to look at how many other teams have third down drops to make that fair. But suffice to say, 42% is kind of like a fine percentage. They would be exponentially better if they, caught a few more passes. They would be doing great on third down, but it hasn't happened because the execution hasn't been there. And New England, defensively actually is kind of weak on third down. 41% is what they're giving up, 19th in the league. Not as weak as the Bucs, who are 29th in the NFL and third down percentage allowed defensively, but still definitely a question mark there. Thought it was really interesting that a team quarterbacked by Tom Brady against a team coached by Bill Belichick, and they're both tied for 28th in the NFL in turnovers. I know it's only 5, but we're early in the season and nobody's turned it over that much other than the Jets. But pretty funny that the two were tied, given how much obviously it's not their fault, but just part of the way the ball bounces when you're looking at 3 games. You mentioned how the Patriots don't do hardly anything per play. Well, the Bucs are on the opposite side of that, 6.2 yards per play, 9th best in the NFL. And again, if not for the drops, they've dropped 2 deep balls this season. Those numbers would be higher. Brady this season, 50% in terms of adjusted completion percentage on the deep ball, 20+ air yards this season. Third most attempts, deep ball attempts in the NFL this season for Brady, and completing them at a higher percentage even than he did last year right now. So Brady is just kind of off the charts then. When you look at quarterback comparison, which is something I always do, Matt, it's just kind of like everything just dominant by Brady across the league, let alone compared to Mac Jones. But 4th best Pro Football Focus grade against pressure this season. He's second in big-time throws with 12. He does not have a turnover-worthy pass this season. He's first in the NFL, tied for first in that regard. And then average time to throw, despite the fact that he's throwing the ball down the field at a rate that's higher than most of the rest of the league, his average time to throw is the best in the league. He is holding on to the ball and getting rid of it faster than any other quarterback in the NFL through 3 weeks. Just if you're looking to compare, Mac Jones is right around the middle of the league right now, tied for 14th. So huge differences there in terms of the way that these teams operate. I think New England is one of the few teams that Tampa Bay will face, Matt, that will actually try to run the football this year against the Bucs, because New England has the most versatile, up there with Shanahan, as the most versatile rushing scheme. There's not just one thing with New England: outside zone, inside zone, split zone, wham, counter. They run everything. And so they think because of the volume in which you have to prepare, that they can still be successful in running certain things at certain times against certain fronts and looks. And I think you'll see the Bucs actually face a fair amount of rushes from New England.
I like Damian Harris too. They're running. Oh, I guess they're number 1 running back,
Yep.
but they do put guys in and out. That would be very interesting to see. And I almost felt going to this game up until rewatching the Patriots Saints game, I thought, all right, well, the Patriots they're going to have to run the ball no matter what, just because that's what they do. And then I watched the Patriots Saints game, and they really, even when the game was still somewhat even or they only down a score, they didn't run it as much as I expected them to. No one really wants to run the ball against this Bucs defense, but what are you going to do? You can't throw it with Mac Jones 50 times, as bad as the Bucs pass rush has been. You got to mix it up one way or another. And I feel like New England is somewhat efficient when it comes to running the ball. They're not as good as years past, but right. Harris is a fun guy to watch. He does a good job of getting to that second level and making a little something out of nothing. It's definitely something the Bucs have to game plan for. I feel like too, just watching the Bucs defense when it comes to running the ball, as teams try it so few, they're almost caught off guard when a team actually does try to do it. There were a couple times the Rams got 5 or 6 yards on a run play just because no one sees it coming. It's almost like it's illegal to run the ball against the Bucs. So then when a team does, it's like, oh wait, you could do that. I completely forgot.
Right.
For New England, I'm sure it'll set everything else up for them. And the key for them, really, I mean, it's for every team, but for New England, again, especially watching their last game, they just can't put Mac Jones in a 3rd and 10 situation or 3rd and long.
Yeah.
Like it's the same for every team, but it's almost a necessity for New England because anything more than 3rd and 7, and it's not going to look pretty for them.
Right. You operate from a real position of strength if you're the Bucs, and that's why running so much for New England, comes in so handy. Actually, I want to look at their percentages in terms of rushing on first down and neutral situations in general, because that could have an effect on this game as well. But yeah, I mean, early down pass rate for the Patriots is still, let's see how high it is across the league. It's still above average. So they're still throwing the ball a good bit on first down. So they're with the analytics, and they probably understand how that could be helpful to their run game, actually, to throw on first down, put them in better situations to be able to run the football successfully by getting into better 2nd and 3rd down and distances. So yeah, I mean, they've converted 3rd downs this season. They've honestly, this is the most bizarre stat of what I've found, and I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to rectify it. Patriots have more of their drives have ended in scores this season than the Bucs have. They haven't finished in the end zone this season, but the Patriots are scoring on almost 42% of their drives. That's 13th in the league. And the Bucs are scoring on just 40% of their drives. That's 16th. So again, the Bucs, obviously, if they just stop shooting themselves in the foot, score on way more than that amount of their drives. And the Bucs have been so good in the red zone that they're still coming away with not even a close comparison in terms of points per game. But yeah, that is a big part of this, right, Matt, is that like the Bucs consistency shows up in that statistic. The Patriots, as bad as their offense is, are actually putting points on the board on a higher percentage of their drives right now. So if it were to be a situation where New England, rediscovers the fact that they're good defensively in the red zone, which they've been just very average this year, but typically are almost always one of the better teams under Belichick, then the Bucs could be in a field goal battle, and they could, then efficiency really matters, right? Because you're trying to score on every drive. We haven't really, the Bucs have attempted the tied for the least amount of field goals of any team in the league so far this season, because they've just, when they've got it rolling, it's a touchdown. Right. Problem is, it's just been like so hit or miss because they'll drop passes and blow things, that they should. The penalties have been a huge problem. They're most pre-snap penalties of any team in the league. New England, in comparison, 6th least, or the 6th best, I guess I should say. So that has been a huge difference between the two. Penalties has been massive. I mean, Belichick's team's obviously really good, and the Bucs have just been terrible with penalties. It usually does regress back to the mean a little bit, but doesn't mean it has to happen in week 4 either. So we'll see how the Bucs treat that and how much more discipline they play. I definitely think you're going to see a sharp Brady in this game, Matt, but do you see a 400-yard Brady, a 350-yard Brady in this game, in your opinion?
Part of me thinks, again, going back to the spike thing, that the Bucs put up 40 points and Brady just has everything and everyone figured out on the Patriots defense. But it'd be crazy to say that he's going to score over 40 points. Yeah, I think he's going to be sharp. He's going to be on point. Byron Leftwich was talking today about how if there's anyone that knows how to keep their emotions in check, it's Tom Brady. Obviously, this is a huge game, and we know the magnitude of it all. But there's also a guy that's played in double-digit Super Bowls. So obviously, he knows how to get it done in the big moment. What I really want to see from the Bucs offense in particular is, the crowd's going to be insane. It's going to be a raucous crowd. The Brady love fest, the Gronk love fest, the booing of Antonio Brown, because he's returning to New England, but he also never played a home game for the Patriots. But anyway, I think it's going to be really important, more than most weeks, if the Bucs get the ball on offense first, to obviously you want to score, but at least to sustain a drive. They played 3 games so far. In 2 out of their 3 games, they went 3 and out on the first drive. And last week against the Rams, they went 3 and out on their first 2 drives. So I think it's going to be really important to at least, even if you don't, score on your first drive, to at least move the ball a little bit, get the crowd into a little bit of a lull, because you all know everyone's going crazy the first 5 minutes, and then the adrenaline wears off and people get tired and are drinking more and stuff like that. And you can't scream for a full 48 minutes. So I think taking the crowd out of it is going to be very effective than most weeks. I mean, even look at last week, but that first drive when they went 3 and out, they had a 3rd and 1, and Josh Wells commits a false start penalty, makes it 3rd and 6, and they can't complete that pass. I'm not saying the crowd was a reason that he went off sides, but it's a chance that that's the reason why he had the false start. Sure. I think this is huge for this game, more than most weeks. And on the flip side, if the Patriots get the ball first, that defense, again, take the crowd out right away, get them a 3 and out, or maybe 1 first down. I'm all about just firing out of the gates, and I think this one's more important than your typical regular season game for that.
For sure. Speaking of things that are more important, what are the most important things people can do right now, Matt, is sign up for the Pewter Report Bowling League over at Pin Chasers. Tell the people about our friends over at Pin Chasers and the wonderful bowling food and fun that can happen there.
That's right. Pewter Report Bowling League is back Monday, October 11th. We're getting a lot of people signing up, so make sure you either sign up on our Google Docs sheet or email me at matt@pewterreport.com, and we'll get you signed up. We're going to be doing a raffle and a giveaway on the first day of the bowling league, and I believe there's going to be some T-shirts involved too, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, we love Pin Chasers. They are a family-owned business that's been around for 60 years, and they're huge Bucs fans. Going out for a night of bowling with your friends or your family, it's a great spot, an awesome environment. They have events going on literally every single day of the week. You got Tuesday Night Pizza Bowl, where it's all-you-can-eat pizza for $11.99 after 9 p.m. They got Unlimited Bowl tonight on Thursday nights. Again, $11.99 after 9 p.m. And you can get $1 Miller Lights, too. Watch the Thursday Night Football game, enjoy some bowling, have some Miller Lights. Great food menu, too, at the 10-Pin Grill. Burgers, sandwiches, fries, all that good stuff. And healthier options, too, with salads and breakfast food at any time. There's multiple locations. They got one in East Pasco. They got one on Hillsborough Avenue. And they have one right down the road near the Bucs facility over on North Armenia Avenue. That is where the Pewter Report Bowling League will take place. So make sure you sign up for the Pewter Report Bowling League. Again, first night is Monday, October 11th. Starts at 6:30. A lot of fun to join this league. You get a free bowling ball at the end, and we can just go and talk some Bucs football while we bowl. So make sure you check out Pin Chasers. Go to their website, pinchasers.net, if you want to reserve a lane or book a party there.
Yeah, absolutely. Check that out for sure. Yeah, you were mentioning just some things about this matchup in terms of Tampa Bay and how they're going to maybe have to defend in this one against Mac Jones. And that part of the ball, to me, is where I think this game's honestly going to be won or lost for Tampa Bay. It's not that I don't think the Bucs offense is going to play well or be good. I just think this is not going to be a high-scoring football game. What's the over-under on it? Do you know? I know you'll write about it for this weekend.
It is the lowest that the Bucs have been given this season. Last I checked, it was 49.
Yeah, we're getting to the point here where we're saying our final scores anyway, what we think it's going to be. I mean, I think the Bucs are going to win. This one was tough for me. I'm not going to lie. I'll just ruin it right now for people. 3 weeks for sure. I'm picking the Bucs to win, without even a question. I will be stunned if they lose any of the next 3 weeks. I think they're just light years better than the next 3 teams, and I'm not sure the next 3 teams know what they're doing, to be honest. Even the Dolphins defense hasn't been good. I know the Bears don't know what they're doing. The Eagles don't know what they're doing yet, for sure. So that I have no questions about those 3 games. But this one is tough to me because I think the Patriots are very well coached. I don't think they get blown out. I think they always hang around. And if you beat yourself with mistakes, with penalties, with drops, things of that nature, the Patriots are as opportunistic as it gets. Whether whether no matter what it looks like, scoring defensively, special teams are good. They just are one of those teams that I don't think you can come out sloppy against, no matter how good you are. So that's what worries me with the Bucs is are they
haven't played a clean game yet,
right? And this is going to be a more challenging game for Brady. It doesn't mean that he's going to just suck in this game, but it'll be more challenging for him than any game he's played this season, because the Patriots he's played this season, they're going to play a ton of different stuff. There's no question about that. And they're going to also, they won't blitz him a ton. So they're going to drop, I bet they drop 8 more than he's seen at any other point this season. So if they play zone, there's going to be tighter windows. Everything's going to be more restricted. He's going to have to be more selective and more patient. And so the Patriots don't give up big deep balls, so there's kind of a strength on strength here a little bit. And I think it's going to make things tougher. Now I will say this, the way that he solved a tough defense with the Rams gives me a lot of encouragement. The Bucs have more answers than they've had in the past to different coverages, but I think this is going to be one of the more challenging games for him because of how many things they give quarterbacks to think about and how many things they take away that a quarterback wants to go to. Brady's patient and he'll, decipher it out and make enough plays to probably win the game, I think. But I think it's going to be a big challenge. Even if the Patriots are a team that finishes with a losing record, I don't think they're going to be easy for him. Look at last year. The Patriots were probably worse, definitely less talent last year. And they beat how many good teams last year?
They almost beat Kansas City last year, and Jarrett Stidham played
exactly right.
Too,
yeah, so. And they have more talent, especially on defense, than they had last year.
Right? Yeah, half their defense sat out for the COVID season, and they came back. And
definitely more talent, better developed, no question. So I think it's just one of those games you have to be on your details if you're going to win this game. If you're the Bucs, I don't think it's going to be easy. Because if New England had a better option at quarterback or a more proven option, I might be inclined to go with them. Before the season, I actually said, I thought New England was going to win this game. But I say all that to say, I do think the Bucs defense bounces back. This is a matchup that they can win. They can shut down that run game, force the Patriots to be a little bit more one-dimensional, get after Mac Jones enough to make him feel uncomfortable early in the game. And I think they can reap the benefits of a couple mistakes and kind of, I don't want to say win the game, but have a big enough impact to win this game. 24-13 is my final score for this one.
Oh, wow. 24-13. Yeah, that is low scoring.
Yeah. I don't see Belichick getting lit up. I know it's Brady and he's playing great, but this is not like a thrown together ragtag defense like he's had some other years in the past. This is a good group. They've got really good players. And they can get pressure with 4. They don't blitz a lot, and they can get pressure with 4, and that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I guess I'll give my prediction now if we're doing predictions.
Well, let's draw out the drama of your prediction here. Oh. Let's talk about our friends over at Living Golf Life a little bit.
Oh, Matt. Yeah. We love Living Golf Life. If you are a golf fan, you will love livinggolflife.com. As you see on the screen right there, they are a website that designs golf brand apparel. They got hats, polos, glass mugs that you've seen me drinking this water from. I know I'm not on the screen right now, but glass mugs, koozies, everything else in between. They're a brand new company, really, that started in January of 2021. It was started by first responders and civilians in the military as well. They're just all about the joy and the fun that golf brings. It's a lifestyle brand more than it is golf. It's all about just being in the outdoors, being with your friends and family, swinging away, getting some hacks, maybe getting a birdie or two, but just enjoying the elements and the game of golf. It's great apparel to wear. John, you're wearing a backwards hat right now.
That's right.
Super comfortable clothing. I wear it all the time when I'm at practice at the Bucs facility. I drink from their glass mugs a lot, as you could see right here. So make sure you check out livinggolflife.com and get all of your golf apparel. If you're watching this, you probably live in Florida, so you're going to be golfing all year round. Even if you don't golf, it's just nice attire to wear for an evening out. So go to livinggolflife.com, and I think you'll enjoy it.
Amen. Big Earn. I just want John to believe in this team one time, Big Earn. This is my record at picking Bucs games. I am 20. I'm 23-2 now picking Bucs games. So they've obviously won most of those games. So I believed in them all those times, including in the Super Bowl when they were not favored whatsoever. And the Chiefs were probably one of the best teams we've ever seen, that version of the Chiefs team. Statistically, they definitely were. I know they were missing some O-linemen, but yeah, I think I believed in them plenty, and I picked them to win this game too. And somebody said I basically picked a blowout. I don't feel like 23 or 24-13 is a huge blowout, depending on when that last score comes. But I get what you're saying at the same time, Hizo. Yeah, I think that final margin will get extended a little bit. But yeah, I think most of the way this is going to be a pretty close game. I think that the Bucs defense gives them a short field or two, and that helps. Similar to kind of the Saints game, if you remember in the playoffs,
Right, the block.
They had 30 points, right? But they didn't
it
really.
Was
right. It was
the
like
fumble,
there was a ton of short fields.
The Jared Cook fumble changed everything.
Yeah, you'd have to have not watched the game to give the Bucs offense credit for that one for the most part. They made some plays for sure when they had to, but most of that game was won by a defense being opportunistic. I think the Bucs defense is going to be very pissed off for this game, and I think
and that's pretty much what I'm getting at here. Is they hear the noise, they hear about that they're not getting sacks, they hear about how they're last in the league in allowing passing yards, and Richard Sherman being here is great, but if the secondary was playing better, maybe they don't re-sign him. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, at least for the guys in the secondary for that. There's no way Tom Brady is losing this game. Maybe it's not a revenge game, but it's probably going to be the most watched regular season football game that the NFL has ever seen. It'll be fun. Think about it. The storylines, the drama, prime time.
I wonder. I'll be curious to see if the Patriots were like a juggernaut. I bet
we're never going to be in this situation again, where it's a guy that's won multiple Super Bowls, leaves a team, goes to another team, wins a Super Bowl, and he's playing against his 20 years and playing against his old team. It's just unheard of, and we probably won't see that ever again.
Right.
I don't see Brady losing this game. He's played against this Patriots defense in practice and just seen them for years and years and years. He understands them. I know they're going to throw things that he hasn't had. I think the addition or the getting Antonio Brown back is going to help a lot.
The re-edition.
The re-edition of I was going to say re-emergence, but it's like, he's not really he's already back. It's not anyway. I think having him back will especially be important. Like if you were just talking about if the Patriots are going to drop a lot of guys back, even if you're in zone, there's only so many times that you can handle having those three receivers on the field at the same time. It doesn't matter in the run game for the Bucs. It just won't for a while. That'll be an issue down the road. But I think Brady, is able.
Brown's wide receiver to start this week. I feel strong about it.
Exactly
about it, Matt.
Exactly. He's got a little chip on his shoulder too.
Right. Belichick will not let your volume guy beat you. That's kind of his thing. So Chris Godwin's going to see more attention in this game than he probably will see all season long. And you have, just in general, the way that they play, take away a lot of the deep balls to Mike Evans. I think this is an Antonio Brown game all the way. I would start him in every league you got him.
There you go. Right. So I think the offense will be capable enough to move the ball down the field and put up points. Maybe they don't reach 30 on their own, but like we were just talking about, I see a big turnover by the secondary or the pass rush finally showing up and taking over parts of the game. I don't want to say the whole game, but putting their imprint on a game, which they haven't been able to do yet besides the Mike Edwards pick sixes, but really making a big play that sets the Bucs up with good field position and lets the Bucs put it away. So I think Tampa Bay wins this one in Tom Brady's return to New England. They win 30-20 Bucs over the Patriots. And the overhits. There you go.
Wow, and the overhits. Okay, I see what you did there. I see a little sneak peek into betting the Bucs coming up this weekend. Yep. Matt's taking me over once again. That'd be the fourth time this year, right? You've taken it every
they're 3-0, and they've hit it every single time.
That's true. Good point. All right. By the way, speaking of game day, that's the next time you'll see us in the Pewter pregame show. We'll be live at 6:30 from Whiskey Wings in Temple Terrace. JC Allen, Casey Hudson coming at you. We'll all be on there, though. We'll all jump in. You'll see everybody on the pregame show, and we'll have a great time with the Whiskey Wings in Temple Terrace. Come on out. Live show is going to be out there. We're going to have giveaways with shirts, hats, all kinds of stuff at Whiskey Wings. We're going to have all of it laid out on the tables there. Come out, watch the pregame show live. The facility there is unbelievable. You've got outdoor bar and indoor bar, screens all over the place. Everything's it's really honestly it's just a great sports bar and grill, great spot to watch the game. So come on out to Whiskey Wings in Temple Terrace, say hi to the Pewter Report crew, watch the game there with other Bucs faithful, and enjoy seeing one of the regular season games of the decade, really. That is, and do it out at Whiskey Wings, where you're going to just have great time and great food and plenty to drink as well. So check us out there. And for the pregame show, that'll be at 6:30 we'll start the pregame show. The pregame show will run 6:30 to 8. Then Paul Atwell and I, or sorry, not Paul Atwell, Mark Schofield and I. He'll be back, and we'll be on the pregame or on the in-game live stream. We'll be with you throughout the whole game, breaking everything down. Mark knows Belichick and Brady. He's grew up a Patriots fan. He's a former college quarterback. He knows them as well as anybody. And so he knows both these guys and has studied everything they've done for their entire careers, basically. And so having his insight on the show is going to be a blast. And obviously he's, as a Patriots fan who loves Brady, is going to be kind of in this thing emotionally. Yeah. So it'll be a blast on the in-game live stream. So spread the word, tell friends and family, let everybody know that they can watch Pewter Report TV. But you got to subscribe to Pewter Report TV. Make sure that you hit the bell for the notifications for when we go live and you don't miss a second of the action with the Pewter Report crew. All right. For Matt Matera, I'm Jon Ledyard. Thanks so much for jumping in here for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Hey, John, happy International Podcast Day.